Welcome to No Instructions. I'm Bob.
And I'm Josh.
And today, not right now, but later, we are going to spoil Avengers Endgame to death. We are going to spoil it all the way down, but not yet.
So we're going to review the movie.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm just letting everybody know that, like, if you haven't seen it,
eventually
you should turn this off. And
this
go
is the episode.
else.
Last week was the no spoilers. It was titled that.
Yeah.
So this week is going to be like the inevitable.
We can't hold back any longer.
Yep.
Now, the problem here is that Anthony, who's sitting right over there, has not seen it. So we're starting the recording, chit-chat a little bit.
Right.
And before we start really blowing stuff up, we're going to make him leave. We're not going to make him. We're going to tell him if he wants to leave.
He's going to run away.
So if you hear screaming and running later, it's because Anthony's on his way out.
And Anthony, God love him, is not the most graceful person. And he is entombed in several loud, smashy, expensive things.
Between him and the free space, there are 3 guitars and a drum set.
And lots of wires.
Tons of wires.
A bunch of computers.
Yeah. So we may hear him on his way.
So if we just cut out abruptly within the next minute or so, it's because Anthony broke everything.
And we have to take him to the hospital. Anyway, so in the meantime, what you working on over there?
I need to prepare better for these podcast episodes that we do routinely.
Well, it's not really fair because I have a history of hoarding Lego sets and models and never having the time to do them. So I have this huge backlog. You don't.
I don't. So I'm putting together the other part of the Ghost, which was the Star Wars Rebel ship. It's a 2-part.
This is called the Phantom.
The Phantom is the smaller piece that mates into the back of the Ghost. So once this is done, that whole set will be finished.
I mean, and don't be offended. I'll probably take this apart and redo it one night.
I wouldn't know any better one way or the other, buddy.
It'll look the same, but
I'm going to swap out a piece.
Oh, no.
I'm going to write my name on it.
There's going to be like a pink piece right on the top of it.
This piece doesn't have the appropriate stickers, so I think I can just draw my name on it.
Unacceptable. Did they not send the stickers?
No, man, I don't see any stickers.
So I bought this set. This one was like, this is not in the stores anymore. And I wanted to get it to match the bigger ship that I got. And so I looked on eBay. It's a small, if you're watching, you can see how big this box is. This is one of the $14.99 type size sets at the store, right?
But it goes with the ship that's much more expensive.
Right, with this like 100 and something. So I go looking for this on eBay, $90.
Yeah.
And so I finally found this one that it said it was complete. Some kid started building it, built about half of it, and then put it back in the box and never touched it again. So his parents sold it, and I think I got it for $20, something like that.
That's
like pretty reasonable,
It's a small ship. I mean, it only has 2 bags, and it came in a Ziploc, or not Ziploc, but like a
got a
what are
free
these called?
Tupperware
Tupperware,
container,
little sandwich Tupperware container,
which is probably about half the cost of what I paid for the whole set. So
we should have washed our hands after touching someone else's Tupperware thing.
It's true. At least it didn't like come out smelling like
casserole.
or something.
Okay, I have something to say about that.
Okay.
We have an Instant Pot. Do you know of Instant Pots?
I know of them, but I've never
It's
actually seen one or used one.
Pressure cooker / crock pot hybrid kind of thing, where you can cook things very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. But like a crock pot, everything that comes out of the Instant Pot kind of has that same taste, regardless of what protein you have in it.
I've heard that before.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's just a pressure cooker or a slow cooker type thing. It all has a common denominator. Like all the flavors, as bold as they can be, always come back to like, in this taste is a base of Instant Pot.
So do you think that, and this is legitimate, do you think that's an actual flavor or is it a kind of a moisture content texture thing?
Well, I have a theory now because I've washed it many, many times. Like, I opened up the cabinet recently, and it's like, whoa, this waft of Instant Pot smell.
Oh, you can actually smell it.
Yeah,
okay.
because it has a drop-in pot. It's got a rubber gasket and then a lid that has the little pressure regulator thing in it. So you take all those things apart and you wash them. But the rubber gasket thing holds in the smells. And so I think that's the culprit. And so I've washed it many times. We have, like, deep cleaned it because one time it was just obnoxious, the smell that it has. And it's not like putrid or rancid. It's just like, I'm the Instant Pot.
That's never in contact with food, right? It just...
No, it's like a Dutch oven to where when the food gets really hot and the steam that comes off of it touches the top and it comes back down. So in that way, it kind of indirectly can touch the food.
I see. It has runoff.
Yeah. But
which is
It
super
always
gross
has
when you're talking
that.
about food.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm sorry. I don't remember what world you were talking about, but it just made me like, "Ugh," on the Instant Pot. So I don't know if this is a thing that other people experience with this wonderful cooking device, that all of your stuff just kind of starts to taste the same, or maybe I just don't know how to wash dishes properly.
Could be. I don't know. I've never used one.
It's kind of neat. We could cook 2 full racks of ribs in 35 minutes.
35. That's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty neat.
Except they taste like whatever you had
It
last
all
week.
kind of tastes like
Yeah, it's a
a
bummer.
base of like pork
So
spice.
I guess the planning then would be the first thing you cook in it needs to be like your favorite food, so that everything down the line is just going to eventually taste kind of like
has a
your
little
favorite.
hint of that. Yeah.
That sounds like a pretty poor way to go around.
Yep. Or just have like 5 Instant Pots.
Oh yeah,
One
there
for
you go.
Southwest, one for barbecue, one for Asian. All right, have we hawed enough about nonsense before we can talk about this movie?
Yeah, let's.
Okay.
Anthony, get out.
Anthony, much love.
Just kidding.
Holy crap.
Oh, he did it. He did it on purpose. Oh, but the
he's still
stripping is not on purpose.
Something fell off the
Yeah.
table.
That was not on purpose.
It's fine.
Oh, man.
All right. So
he lives up to
the
expectations.
gong was your spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the movie, do yourself a favor. I mean, if you're at all interested, do yourself a favor and go see it. Don't listen to people talk about it until you've seen it.
Go see it and then come back and hit play. So
Yeah.
hit pause, go watch it. We'll wait 3 hours for you.
You can turn your phone off too, because otherwise your battery will die during that long of a movie.
That's considerate.
Okay, we're in spoiler territory. We don't have a plan or a format here, and we've never really done like a full movie review type
Nope.
discussion.
But you have with us on Making Geeks.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I forgot
But
about
even
that.
then, like, it varies. And we have roughly an hour. And the movie was 3 hours.
Yeah.
So, first off, did you like it? Or did it meet your expectations? Or what were your initial, like, walking out of the movie theater?
Okay, walked out pretty bummed.
Ooh,
Gotta
okay.
be honest. I knew going into it that someone was gonna die. I knew that it was probably Captain America or Tony, at least. And even though logically ahead of time I knew that it would probably be Tony, I really didn't want that to happen. And so I think I kind of, without really thinking about it, kind of like said, "Oh, that probably won't happen. It'll be Cap. He'll, sacrifice himself to save the greater
Right.
good, like he always does, and whatever." And so I think when I finally saw him die, I was just like, "There went my favorite."
Did you tear up?
I didn't the first time. I've seen it twice now. The first time, I mean, I felt it, and I was just had this kind of like sinking, like, oh man, like that part is over now. That's a drag. And then the second time, when he and Pepper were sitting on the couch, and he said, he's talking about time travel, and he was like, "I can put it in a box and drop it in the bottom of the lake," and she looks at him and she goes, "But you won't be able to rest." And I was like, "Oh," because at the end when he died, she was like, "Now you can rest." And
Yep.
I started crying right then the second time. I don't know why. It's kind of stupid to cry at like it's a made up movie about made up people in a ridiculous universe and all this
Nope,
stuff.
it's not
But
stupid.
but at the same time, like I felt that one, like that.
Yep.
Yeah. So overall, I really did like it. I thought they did a great job of wrapping up a whole bunch of different things. I do have some worry about what's next, and we can talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
But as a movie in and of itself, I was pleased. But when I got out of it, I wasn't like, "That was fantastic." I was like, "Okay, they did it all,"
So you're at the end of this book. Were you satiated? Were you like, that's what I was hoping for this movie? Because I say yes. I say yes because I really loved Infinity War. And it, as much as Disney and these Marvel movies can bring something to a close, because you can never really bring it to a close because then you can't make money off of it. Like,
Right.
I think that story as the end of Phase 3 or the potential end of Phase 3 or whatever for the MCU, like, it was satisfying because they didn't, like, there was no post-credit scene or we can talk about Loki and they're like, is someone dead or are they not dead? And I felt that it was completed.
Yeah.
And that was very satisfying. As emotionally turbulent as that movie was, it was funny, it was sad, it was unexpected, it was exciting and hopeful. And then at the end, I remember going like, thank you for not
Yeah.
psyching me out or
Right.
faking or putting some weird hook to like, it's over, but it's not over. Like, I love that I have no idea what's coming next because they properly ended that story.
Yeah, I think that's what I liked and disliked about it. I liked it because that is the right way to do it. I thought they did an excellent job with that. The part I dislike is like, yeah, but it's over. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
freaking Iron Man's gone, dude, and not coming back.
Well, see, not coming back is subjective because
No,
I
he's
mean,
not
there's what Spider-Man. What's the little tagline in the
Far
movie?
From
Far
Home?
from Home, right?
Yeah.
He's gonna be in that, and
he's
so,
not.
huh?
There's that.
That movie I think takes place before this stuff.
No.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, well, never mind.
No. He's
But
gone.
I say that as much as a Disney movie and as much as these superhero movies go back and forth in time, this is a prequel, this is a whatever. But if he is, then good for him. I mean, that means that Robert Downey Jr. has finally been able to go, you know what, I'm kind of done with this.
Now he can rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That part got me.
Yeah.
So I did not anticipate connecting with these movies as much as I did as just like a human being, as a father, as like, you know, things in your past, which I think this movie really, the theme of this movie, I really enjoyed, and I might not be able to put my finger on exactly what it is, but for me, to where Infinity War was like, we don't trade lives, we're all a team. This one, I think, put all of that to the test. Because when they were able to go back in time, well, first off, they all get together. They're like, we're going to go beat Thanos. They found him, and they killed him.
Which at that point I was like, man, this movie is going way too fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that whole like, okay, we've got the solve. Here's the like, let's go. You know, and I'm like, what is this? Is not right. Why is this going so fast?
I loved that part because it was like, we did it. We avenged everybody, but you didn't change anything.
Yeah.
So you didn't solve the problem. You just tried to make yourself feel better because as a person who was beat or who was vanquished, you have some form of retribution or some form of revenge. And I think that's what I loved about Thor's story and Thor's character that entire time. Like, he felt so terrible that he did something wrong and that he could internalize that he ruined everything. Or because everybody was gone because he himself failed. And then he was able to finally, like, which I like how they chopped his arm off. How everybody in Infinity War was like, why don't you just chop his arm off? Then he can't snap. And that was, boom, the first thing he did, chop his arm off. Pow. And then he just shut him up and chopped his head off. And so it still did not make him feel any better. Even that, like, I'm able to enact revenge on someone or something that wronged me. I mean, it's all like an internal struggle, even though the physical manifestation of that thing that causes you pain is not necessarily gone.
Yeah.
And so I think that was a really a deep point that a lot of people in their individual lives can relate to. And then I don't know about you, but I was always like, okay, they can't keep Chris Hemsworth in a fat suit the entire movie.
I kept expecting that to change.
Right? He's
yeah.
like, he's going to, like, the lightning is going to come down and he's going to be shredded again and not look like Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a really fun move. And I wonder, because in Ragnarok, like, he and the director, Ragnarok, I forgot the guy's name, who plays Korg.
Tiki, what?
Yeah, like, they wanted to take him in a new direction. And I wonder how much of that was them like, you know what? Let's make me super fat. And they're like, we can't do that. Like, Disney doesn't want that. They want you shredded and handsome. He's like, no, man, fat the entire time.
Yeah.
Fat, lazy, and drinking.
That was really funny because I kept expecting, like, when he and Rocket came back, they would use that time to somehow fix his body or something.
Montage
you know what I mean?
time.
Yeah,
He's
like,
like lifting weights.
Yeah. We're going to go back to this specific time in history and lift weights with this famous person until we're in shape again. But
Well, as a chubby guy with a dad body, I appreciated finally being represented in a superhero movie.
that's funny.
But being able to connect with it, I think, more than I expected. I really like Thor's character. But when they all went back in time, I think the point I was trying to make about, like, we don't trade lives, when they all got to go back in time to their own respected kind of areas, they all had the opportunity to be selfish. They all met people from their past. They all had situations in their past where they, I think, with the regret that they've had to live with, could, in that point, going, I'm going to stay right here and I'm going to focus on fixing that.
Get the thing I never had.
The thing that I personally never had.
Yeah, that's true.
Tony's relationship with his dad, Cap with his lady friend, Thor with his mom, like all of those moments that they're like, nope, and you could see it in the movie. I felt that they were struggling with it, and I always wondered, like, if you could go back in time, like, I don't know, would you change those things? But they had a mission to do, and I think those are the real heroes that, you know, despite your own personal gain, having to make those tough choices and watching that play out, and them not being so overt about it, but still kind of feeling that. I was like, ooh, this is good.
And they definitely pointed that struggle out on each of them. You know, Cap looking at Peggy through the window, and Thor talking to his mom and stuff. Yeah, they
that part had me. That part got me.
Yeah, I bet.
It was like this. He stops. He's like, "This is the day that my mom dies," and I was like, "Ooh," and I'm like, "Okay, nope, let's just move past this." And then, like, all the regret and all the stuff and all the emotions that he had that were causing him to, like, slip into this horrible state. He just needed to talk to his mom. Like, out of all the people in the entire literal universe that could, like, comfort him or be able to understand, he just needed to talk to his mom. And that, like, that's the part that when he was, like, just talking to her and kind of confessing, like, he was being open and honest with somebody and not just, like, when he met Rocket in the thing and then Rocket said he looked like melted ice cream.
Yeah.
He was still putting up a front. But, like, he was super vulnerable around his mom. And I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah.
This is happening.
I bet that would be tough. Yeah.
But I really liked the time travel bits. Okay, how do you feel about the time travel-y kind of idea that they posed?
I mean, it felt, you know, they can't spend a lot of time coming up with, like, this fake science to, like, really validate it. I get that. I mean, it's fantasy. But it did feel like, hey, you know what we should do? Time travel.
That sounds like a great idea.
That sounds like a great idea.
How do we do that?
Give me a minute. And then he gets, like, sitting in his fancy table. He's just like, let's just try, I don't know, let's try this one. I figured out time travel.
People have maybe heard of double helixes before, and that looks like a sciencey kind of thing.
So that felt a little just... But also, I did notice that that entire sequence from, like, when they killed Thanos to when they actually started making progress and, you know, like, going back in time, that the time scale there was very montage-like, but that could have been over a greater period of time. But that you didn't really see that, you know. But it could have been that, like, Tony thought about time travel for 6 months or a month or something, and then kind of figured, you know. So maybe it wasn't as rushed as it felt like. But that was one thing that just kind of, like, I have an idea. Nobody's ever tried this before. It's cool. I got it. And then it's just, like, done. And now they have this thing that will change, in that universe, will change everything forever.
Yep.
Because now somebody knows how to time travel.
Yep.
In all of the MCU from now on. And whether it's those people or not, like, that box has been opened and can be reopened at any point. Because it had nothing to do with the stones.
Yep.
Right? So it had PEM particles, which is the only thing, and he's back. So they can, they
can make more.
Yep.
He just validated his research, and now that is a thing.
Yep.
I guess that was one thing. Like, if it were montagey, each one of the two separate groups that were working on it tried one time.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, let's send Ant-Man back. Like, oh, he's a baby. He's an old man. He's this. They're like, oh, well, I guess we're never going to get it. And then Tony's like, Tony sighs. He's like, okie dokie. Well, maybe let's try a flim-flam dark matter union joint bolt screwed into the ion quantum field magnetic core. Yep. And then beep, bolt, beep. Time travel possible.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, okay. So
But at the same time, I mean, like, I don't know how else they would have done that.
True.
You know, time travel was kind of the MacGuffin shortcut to let's have a way to create a big solve for this. But I don't know what else they would have done. So I don't see that as a bad thing. It was just like maybe lowest hanging fruit plot device to to enable the rest of this big thing that they already had figured out. You know,
and that's the thing in these movies, like in the fantasy elements of the movies, like I can suspend belief and go, okay, you're putting me in this world, like, sure, Asgard's a thing, okie dokie. People have superpowers, like, sure, why not? And then when they try to mix in science,
That's
It's
not
like
reasonable.
you're just saying. And that was kind of my beef with Ant-Man and Wasp. I'm like, you're just saying quantum a bunch of times. You're just making
Well,
stuff
they even
up.
pointed that out in the movie, which was
Yes,
great.
what I think
thought
was the one saving grace for me. I'm like, okay, you can kind of make fun of yourself because it's kind of starting to bother me. And someone in a creative meeting went, someone's going to be bothered by this.
Yeah.
We should maybe make fun of it.
Oh, that was good. But yeah, I mean, after it got into it, I kind of forgot that it happened so quickly. And that was just, where they were headed. So it didn't bother me or anything.
So, like our Star Wars conversations, how do you like that they went back and visited all of the, or not all of them, but a lot of the previous movies? Because if this is supposed to round them all out, just like we talked about, like you got to welcome all the characters back so everybody can have resolution. Do you think they did it well?
Yeah, I do. I think it was a great way to give a little highlight reel because that's basically what they were doing. Mm-hmm. They took all of the major characters, put them back in situations where we had seen them in without the support of the full group, and they got to all have their little shining moment. And that was a great way to do that because otherwise it would have been like, here's a team of a bunch of people, everybody gets one-liners for 30 minutes, and then they go somewhere else and everybody gets one-liners for 30 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everybody got their own little mini story focus. I thought that was great.
And it, as a production concept, it totally worked.
Yeah.
Because I went back and I'm like, I think that was in Age of Ultron. I couldn't tell. And so I went back in those movies and I borrowed the movies from you. But if I didn't, I probably would have streamed them on some kind of device as a way to call back to their older stuff. And this is going to get people to ask questions about stuff that we're not going to overtly spell out. They have to go do some research.
Right.
So smart move on their part, kind of almost forcing people to go back through the library.
Well, I mean, if somebody's that interested, yeah, for sure.
Good at you, Disney. That was a smart move.
I have a part that is, these instructions are, I don't know. There's a random part that's unlisted that just is there. All right, so let's talk about some of the specific stuff.
Okay.
Loki.
Yes. Big question mark.
Where is Loki? When is Loki?
Mm-hmm. I really liked.
And okay, there's another and there. Go ahead. You really liked.
I really liked that they kept certain people dead who were dead. I don't recall. Tell me, you saw it 2 times. Did Vision ever come back?
Nope.
Okay, good.
Nope, he's gone.
Gamora, the past Gamora. You see the future Gamora. I kind of liked that thing where she's still in the Soul Stone.
We don't know.
Right? But they didn't, she didn't reappear, so that tracks through the logic.
Well, but even the past Gamora that showed back up, they never explicitly showed whether she disappeared with Tony's snap or not. Because at the last scene with the Guardians is Chris Pratt searching for her on his computer. And it says searching, Gamora, whatever. And it's searching, and then he swipes it away because somebody walks up.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, so it's
Oh, because she technically was on the bad team.
Yeah, she came in with the army, and Tony didn't know that. He didn't know she was good. So she may have gotten snapped away. I don't know.
Which brings me to another point. Is the Infinity Gauntlet only snap operating? Because
No. Well, maybe
I
just
don't think so.
the big final thing.
Or closing the hand, right? Because in Infinity War, Doctor Strange escaped things don't let him close his hand because he can use the stones independently from inside the gauntlet. I don't know if it needs him to close his hand. That seems like a terrible, engineering
mechanic,
feature.
yeah. It is
But
the power glove of mystic arts.
And when the Hulk uses the glove and snaps his finger, he's like, I tried to bring back Natasha. So can you... And there's no answerable way to address this, but
I bet there is. But I don't know.
Is it I wish upon a Infinity Stone and then
I think
give me what I wish?
That's what I kind of understood. I don't know if that's canon from the comics or whatever, but I kind of imagine somebody is saying in their mind, this is what I want to happen.
And then what would Tony have said? It's
that's another thing.
Get rid of the bad guys.
The only people that disappeared were Thanos and his army and all of the stuff. So my assumption is that, and he made the point earlier, we only want to bring back what we lost, not get rid of what we have. So he was very specific about, it was a specific ask. Mm-hmm. And so I imagine that with Thanos, it was, let's, kill or remove or whatever, dissolve Thanos and his army. And I feel like Gamora would have been included in that because he wouldn't have known that she was, teetering on good, bad.
Yeah,
He
like
never met her.
are there some of those like spider crawly eyeless things that were like, you know what? I don't know if I really want to work for things.
I don't like him that much. I just don't have any other options.
Exactly.
The
Like
job market is terrible for
I'm
giant
in
spiders.
this far, but I am a conscientious objector to what's going on right here. Like, did he get to stay?
I don't know.
Because Gamora didn't do a whole lot more than that. She made some redemptive qualities, but didn't firmly stand like, I
Right.
stand against Thanos.
Right. So I kind of feel like she probably got snapped away. So the way that I think that she's going to come back is that somewhere the whole like you give a soul and it says it's irreversible. You give a soul, you get the stone. I think somehow she will be able to come back out of the stone eventually because I think that Black Widow will also come back out of the stone. Now that would totally diminish her sacrifice if they do that. So maybe they won't for that reason. But Cap had to return the Soul Stone.
Ooh, yes. And
To Red Skull.
To Red Skull, which I think is fun. He had to
That's
go like,
awesome.
oh, I'm just going to go back. I'm not sure what any of these space worlds mean, but hey, this place has a bunch of pools and there's a big tall pokey thing. Let's walk up there and see what it is. And then who is at the top of that thing? But Red Skull.
Yeah.
Man.
That's pretty awesome. But he had to return that, and if it's 1 for 1 and you give the stone back, what happens? Do you get the soul back?
I don't know. Maybe.
And if so,
They're just on layaway. And you're like, I don't want this. I changed my mind.
well, no returns. Sorry.
Yep. Sorry, Charlie.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Which another thing about Cap returning the stones. Okay, so at the end of the movie, Tony's dead. They're like, you got to go give him back. He gets in the Wayback Machine, and he goes back. Assumed he puts them all back. Time Stone goes back to Bald. What's her name? Whatever. All of them go back.
Yeah.
So when they like 3, 2, 1, bring him back, and he doesn't show up on the little platform, he's over on the bench. Has Old Man been sitting there the entire battle?
That's what I was trying to figure out. And I saw a little note from the writer, not from the directors, but from the writer. And his thing was that Steve returned all of them except the Time Stone, went to where Peggy was, had his entire life with her,
Okay.
kept the Time Stone with him,
Okay.
and then because that would be a branch in reality. Mm-hmm. So his life with Peggy was an entirely different reality that branched off somewhere. And then at the end of his life, or whenever the point was that he wanted to switch back over, probably after she died,
Then he would put it back?
He took the Time Stone back to where it should have been, dropped it off.
Opened up the Pym particle thingy in his little wooden box that he's been keeping in his house forever.
Yeah, it's like wrapped in a sock in his closet.
But his kids probably tried to break it.
Probably.
That's going to be the undoing of the entire world right there. What's this thing?
So I think he lived a life in a separate timeline and then popped back to that point in time.
But didn't pop back on the platform, the
Right.
poppable platform thing.
Yeah, just for dramatic effect.
Yeah.
Steve Rogers. Yeah. That's
So you think
that's
about
what
Iron
I got
Man
out of
or,
that. But
Captain America fighting Captain America?
oh, it was great.
I thought that was
Yeah,
super cool.
That was awesome. And the whole I can do this all day line. Oh man, I busted out laughing. He was just like, I know. So good. Because I like that they really pulled that out. Like we've said this a whole bunch of times and everybody expects it. It was good.
But Loki, okay, so in that same kind of sequence,
Yeah.
they have Tesseract, they drop it, Loki grabs it and just disappears. You don't know where he goes. Mm-hmm. But then they have to go back further in time to go get the Tesseract. So it's this weird, what time?
Well,
is it really there now, or is it his other
So
place
he
now?
would have branched reality at that point. Mm-hmm. So all of the stuff that we saw for the rest of the movie is still in the theoretical main timeline, and he now exists in an alternate timeline
Until
starting at what is that, 2009?
12 or something
like that. Yeah.
Right.
Starting at that day.
But then as soon as Old Man Cap returns,
It's a different
Tesseract.
It's a different Tesseract.
man, I like how they addressed the Back to the Future or the Bill and Ted kind of thing.
And he
because
names off all the movies.
yeah, and then when they were like, no, it happens blah, 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 and they said it really fast. I'm like, crap, I didn't get that. I just have to buy into whatever they're doing now because I didn't get the logic that they very clearly stated, but they stated really fast.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm definitely gonna have to come back and watch this again.
It was funny that like a couple of them were just really sure how time travel worked. Like Nebula was like, "That's not how it works." How do you know? You're like, I mean, she's like half computer, maybe.
I like how Rocket went. Calm down. You're smart for Earth standards.
Yeah, you're only a genius on Earth. That was pretty good.
Calm down there.
Yeah. Let's see. What else was?
Okay, so Tony, yes, when Tony died, made me cry.
Yeah.
And it made me cry, which I really liked that they did because he was so hurt that, like, silver-tongued, always has something to say, Tony Stark was dead quiet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, that's impactful. And then she's just like, you can go now. Like, you're done.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about us anymore. And that as a father, and like, I don't know, I have these weird things, or like people in my family have gotten cancer. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to die sooner than most people would think. And so that moment caught me. Again, this is me relating to my own personal life, this weird movie that had nothing to do with me. And so I'm projecting hardcore.
Yeah. That's what you do.
But
we all do.
That part got me. And I'm sitting there next to my son. I'm like, I'm okay.
Dad's not crying.
Well, and that after the fact, on our way home, because of this podcast, I got to talk. I have a conversation with my son about crying, like as a boy and as a man. And he's like, I've never seen you cry before. I'm like, well, you should have been watching, because that was your chance.
Yeah, it's gone now, boy.
Yeah, but like we had a real honest conversation about things that were sad and loss, and my mom that he never got to meet, and so it was super silly that this silly Marvel movie was a way for my son and I to have a real conversation about loss and the loftiness of things you have going on, about fatherhood. And yeah, that was definitely one of those moments that intended to make you sad, and it worked.
Yeah, they nailed that for sure.
But yeah, when he was quiet.
Yeah, and that kind of vacant look.
Yep.
Oh man, that was rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, my daughter cried. She lost it in the movie. And she's like, of all my kids, she's the one that probably has the most interest and like passion, which is really funny to me. It shouldn't be, I guess, but the one girl is the one that likes Star Wars the most. She likes the Marvel movies the most. And like she'll just come talk to me about it. And she's not little anymore. She's like a kid she's getting to that age where a lot of kids stop being interested in that stuff because their friends may not be, and they think it's like not cool or whatever. But she's totally in, and I love that. But the stories do affect her. And she was sitting down by my wife on the other end of our 6, people in a row. And I looked down at one point, not when he died, but earlier on, and she was just like tears just rolling down, and her eyes were wide watching the movie, but you could just see it on the side of her face, like it hit her. And so she and I got to kind of have that same conversation after the fact. And the boys are all just like, yeah, it was really good. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah. And it was funny because the day before I went to see it by myself, I decided to go see it by myself so that I just wanted to get through it and not have to worry about them needing to leave and being distracted. That way, if they did have to go to the bathroom, I could take them and my wife could watch it and not be distracted. Turns out they all did awesome. Nobody had to go to the bathroom. That was great. But we were talking, and she just goes like, oh, who's your favorite Marvel character? And this is before I'd seen it, and I was like, Iron Man. I mean, I can pretty confidently say he's always been my favorite. And Captain Marvel was hers, of course. And so then after we saw it together, we walked out of there, and she was like, I'm really sorry.
Aw.
Like, oh, it's okay. It's not... You don't need to be sorry that my favorite character is no more. And then I started bawling. No. It was cool, though. I'm glad that she's interested. I think I'm also just glad that she can be affected by storytelling.
Yeah, and I think that's
cool.
what I got the most out of that, is that this is a superhero movie, and it's a mega blockbuster, and they have all the ability to pander and Michael Bay explosion, the whole thing. But... you cared about so many people for so long. 22 movies.
Yeah. It is
added up to this.
That was a lot.
With so many separate story arcs and so many personalities, and whether you liked all 22 of them or not, like, I felt that this was good because it it hinted at those previous stories, and I feel like the decisions that were made, for the most part, I mean, I got to watch it again a second time, but I felt like they were on character.
Yeah.
Like no one did something completely random and dumb just to try to get them to the next
fit it
step.
into the story. Yeah, that's true.
I thought the part about Nebula like tapping into her current self or whatever, I'm like, okay, sure. All right.
Yeah.
If they're existing in the same place, maybe the Wi-Fi password's the same on old Nebula as
it was funny that he said like they're sharing a network, and that was the first thing I thought of. Is like, oh, they have the same SSID. That's funny.
Yeah, that's really good. They have share with everyone, not just share with Thanos. So Thanos was my favorite character of Infinity War because I think he was so complex. And because Thanos, I'm telling you, looks just like my grandfather.
Really?
He does. He's not purple, but I mean, if you could turn Thanos into like a sunburnt, tarnished old man, like it looks like my grandfather. But so past Thanos, not the one whose head they chopped off. I thought that they did really well by that character. He kind of was starting to figure it out because he's not a dumb character. He's a really complex kind of being, and he feels like he's worthy and all this, and so he starts to figure it out. And then his new plan of like, oh, okay, so I didn't anticipate the other half missing and doing something about the half that I got rid of. I'll just start all over. Like, okay, there we go. I'll just fix that. And that it's funny because it seems like a vengeful, spiteful move in the moment, but I'm like, he honestly believes what he's doing is good.
Yeah.
But I had another question. And they made the point, if Thanos snaps away half of all living things, is that half of the trees? Because when they snap them back, all the birds and stuff you can hear.
She said, Black Widow said, all living creatures. And I heard this in the trailer, and I thought the same thing.
Okay.
Because it was kind of a weird way to say, it wasn't like people, or it wasn't,
right.
It said creatures. And I guess that includes, like, you talk about alien races and, like, all the stuff that's in that
because Groot's
universe.
a tree.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like, if you get rid of all half of living things.
He's like a walking person.
Then you're shy of, like, some, like, space, materials. Like, if you get rid of half the people, and then you get rid of half of the living things, say, I'll for the sake of argument, say they said living things, which they might not have. Then you get rid of half of the trees, and the bacteria, and the stuff that makes a lot of the resources that we consume consumable. And so did you really do that great a job?
Yeah.
You just kind of cut everybody in half and made everybody mad for really no
Yeah.
reason. Or the net is still the same.
Yeah, that's true.
We still don't have enough to go around. So then for him to go like, oh, okay, that's fine. I'll just Matrix, like, hit reset. So there you go.
Yeah, I think it was, she said creatures, and that was a pretty good explanation to me that, like, not plants and stuff.
Okay.
But, who knows?
But was that a worthy compromise? Because, when you get that 5-year glimpse into the world without half of the people, and everybody's pretty miserable, then all of a sudden their 5-year younger selves just, like, pop back up into the world. Like, that is pretty traumatic.
I thought about that a little bit. Like, at the end, it showed, like, Peter and his friend, I can't remember the character's name, like, meeting up at school.
Yeah,
and
guy in a chair.
But the thing about it, they must have both...
Been in, like, middle school.
They must have both faded away because they would be 5 years different in age. Mm-hmm. And so, like, all of the people that you were in high school with, when you come back, they're all in college.
Yep.
And so then you have, like, this weird thing from now on. Like, if you go to get your driver's license, they're like, how old are you?
Were you click
18?
or were you non-click?
Yeah. So now there's this division of people who are 5 years younger than they're supposed to be.
Imagine, like if your family moves
that?
on. Like, oh, they got remarried to someone who is there, and they have a whole separate family. How traumatic would that be if you come back? Like, no, man, snap me back.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to face this. Like, everything that you thought you knew or you loved is now completely altered.
Yeah.
And hooray, I'm back. And it's like on Castaway.
Yeah.
That moment in Castaway where Tom Hanks comes back to go get his Jeep, and his lady has already moved on, and he has to, like, okay, you have to let her go.
I mean, that's a good point. Like, so think about, imagine a family on Snap Day.
Right.
They lose their other kids.
Terrible.
It breaks the parents' heart.
Absolutely.
They go crazy. They get divorced. One of them turns into like this, I don't know, drug addict. I'm just thinking some scenario where just like everything about this family breaks down because of the loss. Then all of a sudden the kids show back up. The parents are still broken.
Like, my bad.
Well, no, I mean, it's not nobody's fault, but like the parents are still broken. You still have addiction now and separation and all these awful things that came
Resentment
from it.
for like ancillary things.
And that probably happened more often than not.
Right.
In that, oh yeah, man, that would have been bad.
And so I ask, is that a proper consolation? Like, as
Getting
Thanos,
everything
he's
back.
like, you know what? I'm going to do a solid for you guys to go, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have taken half. You're right.
Yeah.
I'll just kind of a do-over. You won't know any better. Everybody else won't know any better.
Yeah.
Your drive for your loved ones is still there, but at this point may be too premature for you to understand what you're actually asking for to bring back people who were just gone 5 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably like a generation or two that it would take to like
Oh man,
forget the past and like this is how things are now.
or
you know?
disassociate so much from that like
Yeah.
it's my grandparents came back and now my grandma is like 5 years younger than the grandpa. But
Oh man, I bet there were a whole bunch of kids who were really bummed. You know, they were like, I'm almost out of high school, and then, or like, I'm almost at drinking age, or I almost have my driver's license, you know, and then like all their friends that they were almost with are ahead of them, and all those different things. Man, bummer.
and then I wonder if there is some part of the people who remained that tried to keep like infrastructure or government or some semblance of reality like still. They're like, no, this thing has to not change because maybe they'll come back. Like, I wonder if there's a group held on to hope, because you look at Captain America, the most optimistic person in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, was leading a support group to try to help people get through. And so even when he couldn't be like an action hero, he was still there to help, which is commendable and amazing and appropriate for Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Even he acknowledged to himself
Gotta move
that,
on.
like, we have to go past this.
Yeah.
And so the most optimistic person acknowledges it and goes forward. So the government, the economy, faith, all of those things just accept it and they go on. And now the world is twice as populated as it was prior to you changing these
That's true.
things. Now you're putting yourself at a worse financial state because
Yeah, that was a very huge shock to the system. All the
Yeah.
infrastructure of the world was all of a sudden.
everything is Detroit. Imagine like Detroit, like people showed up and were like, "Hey,
Yeah.
here's some houses," and they're like, "But this house is not what it used to be," or someone else moved into my house.
Yeah.
And because of
Ooh,
eminent
yeah.
domain, and they're definitely 5 years. That's outside the realm of eminent domain. They own it now because they squatted on your house while you were gone.
That's
So
crazy. Yeah.
there's a massive like, what's next for the MCU, which I think is a good segue, is local government issues, utility infrastructures. The
Yeah.
plumbing sewer system was already in place, so that should be okay. Like that should be fine. But I got goosebumps during that final battle scene. I was getting like continuous levels of goosebumps. It was dope. And I asked Deacon, I was like, "Man, I got goosebumps." He's like, "I got goosebumps on my eyes when T'Challa showed up." Because he loves Black Panther. And the moment that he and Shuri like walked out of that portal,
Yeah.
and everybody started showing up, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be that battle scene.
Yeah.
This is going to be great."
Oh, can we talk about, before we get to that, real quick, the Captain America wielding the hammer.
Ooh, okay.
Freaking awesome.
That was so cool.
That was one of the highlights of the movie for me, just because I like Captain America, he's fine. I like Thor, he's fine, whatever. But like that was just, they set it up just the right amount
Yep.
in the past to,
What do you mean?
As soon as-
like in
Ultron.
Ultron, where he wiggled.
it wiggled just
Yeah.
a little bit, and Thor's face at that
Yeah.
was just perfect. And so as soon as I saw,
knew it!
Yeah, as soon as I saw Thor doing a thing and then the hammer moving separately, I knew it. I was like right off the bat, like, yes.
See,
Captain
I
America
thought
is
that
getting
was
it.
going to be some past or weird quantum version of like the super sexy Thor coming back. That's what I was like. That's how they're going to get him away
Double
from
Thors.
the dude version of Thor. Like, I'm like, oh, this is great. And then he tosses him, he's like, "I want the big one. You get the little
Yeah,
one
you
or
get the
whatever."
little one. Yeah.
That was so good.
That was an excellent thing. Anyway, what were we talking about before that? The
Final battle scene.
Final battle scene. Yeah, I think it was excellent because they almost couldn't hang
Yeah.
And I thought that was really good. Because, I mean, you know, there's a tendency to just, we're just going to beat him down. And, like, just the
enough punches.
The small group of us.
The 15th punch is going to get him.
The original 5 or 4 or whatever's left. And they just couldn't hang. And I thought that was good.
Because at a point during that battle, I went, everybody should be back. And then they had to get to where they were. Because theoretically, most of those people were still in Wakanda.
Right.
And then...
I did think that was really cool too. When all the portals opened, you could see all of Wakanda behind through the portals, cool. And it was all like the same view, like a bunch of different windows into the same thing. That was awesome.
I think the scale of that battle was really good. I think having all of the wizards and the mystics, like when the missiles started falling from the sky, and they were making like the
shields,
little shields, and then which I thought was really cool. Like the ship that was launching all the missiles down at everybody, all of a sudden those missiles kind of point up and start shooting at the sky. I thought that was super cool. Because, like, being, I don't know, the stuff we did in the military, like, something well above you or something bigger that just happens, and you're like, why did that stop all of a sudden? Like, what is going on? And that ignorance that they're in, they're like, what, why? Why is this thing happening? And then Captain Marvel finally shows up and just starts smashing stuff.
Yeah.
I think it was cool. And I really liked that they didn't just give everything to her and was like, oh, yeah, you're the latest movie. We know you're super powerful. Just, like, fix everything.
Yeah, make it Captain Marvel, too.
Yeah, and it didn't. She was off doing stuff. She went and got a fancy haircut. And then she showed up just like everybody else, like exactly when she needed to show up.
That was one of the things my daughter said when we walked out and we were talking about it. She's like, I didn't like Captain Marvel's new haircut as much. It was okay, but I really like her long hair better. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I thought they used her an appropriate amount. I thought it was good. And she was, like, definitely useful at the end. Like, she was one of the team members to help the whole thing wrap up, which I thought was good. But, yeah, I like the fact that she didn't just, like, become the new team leader and, like, step over Captain America and just be like, all right, guys, I've got fire hands. I'm in charge now.
Yep.
You know, that was good.
Because there were so many YouTube videos about, like, who is powerful enough in Marvel Universe to kill Thanos. And they would list off all these obscure characters that a majority of the moviegoers don't know anything about. And it was like, Captain Marvel is. And so these weird little speculators kind of set an ignorant stage to, like, she's going to be the savior of everything. When it's the common theme in Avengers movies are that we win together and we lose together.
Right.
And so I really liked that the all-powerful fire hands and flying through space and all this was like, yeah, she was a part of it.
Yeah.
She wasn't all of it. Everybody was a part of it.
All right, are we to future yet?
Sure. What's next?
I'm worried.
How so?
Okay, let me temper that a little bit. For me, this is much like, or I could see how this would be much like Star Wars, in that there's been a generation of people or a group of people who like the characters. And they've grown kind of grown up with those characters, and we're invested in those characters and whatever. And so now the landscape has to change. We have to have a whole new crop. Some continued on, but a whole new crop basically of Avengers. And so I feel like there was a little too much closure on all of the long-term or most of the long-term characters. So I don't feel like I will be personally as invested in the next wave of stuff.
I got you.
If there was another, I don't know. I mean, if there was another Iron Man, I'd be like, yeah, man, well, more of that. I'll hang on through anything else to get to that. And I'll still watch them all. I'm not saying I won't watch them, but like I've been invested in these last couple just because I knew how they were the culmination of all this stuff before. But I feel like they wrapped everything up almost too well. You know?
Well, they did leave.
I mean, there's a lot open for sure.
Yeah, like there's a new potential Captain America with Falcon.
See, even that, like I was invested in Captain America because of his character and because of all you got to see him go through all of the stuff to become who he was. And like Sam's cool, he's fine, but like
the backstory, you're not as entrenched in.
He's just a dude, and so I'm less like I want to see this guy do the right thing. I want to see this guy win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And the movie kind of hints or leads you to believe, like with Hawkeye's daughter being able to shoot the arrow.
Yeah.
The kid from Iron Man 3 who
which
helped
they actually
Tony
said
Stark.
that he's not That,
really?
That was just a...
He's just hanging out.
Yeah.
He's the one random person that gets to show up to Tony Stark's.
If you don't know what we're talking about, one of the kid from Iron Man 3, who's now like a...
He's a teenager.
Yeah, he's like a late teen or whatever. He was at the funeral. He was that kid in the back that...
Yeah, he's the
a lot of
random
people
kid.
Didn't know who he was.
Yeah. So they can lead people on to think that there are younger versions to where they don't do the Fox thing where it's like, okay, you guys are getting kind of old to be these really cool characters and we can't continue to build this brand on you. So we'll just send you back in time and make you younger versions, younger, cool tween versions of yourself, which I think was dumb and pandering. So they kind of hint that like there is more. And in the comics, there's a thing. There's an Infinity, I forget the name of the comic series, but like it's after the Infinity War where it has Falcon as Captain America, where it's kind of a Falcon Captain America kind of mash up.
Yeah, he's got like wings, but the shield.
Yeah, and the shield, and there's like a female Thor. So Thor hops on with the Guardians, and it's the Asgardians or whatever of the galaxy.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
That was a fun sequence.
Yeah.
So they're hinting at what could possibly be.
Yeah.
In a super subtle way, because I think that they put people in a really great place to wonder like what is next. Like how many more movies do you walk out of and go like, I want to see more. What's coming more?
Yeah.
Like that must make their advertising department really happy when someone walks out and they're wiping tears away and go, what's next?
Right. Yeah.
Like then you've got them. You've got them hook, line, and sinker.
But I think, yeah, I agree with you. I think my hesitation there was just like, well, I'm not as invested in the people that I know will be showing back up as the people who are now gone for good. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious what's next.
Yeah.
I'll watch them because I like the movies, but I'm not like, if Marvel movies stopped right now and there were no more, I would be okay with that. I don't want that to happen. I enjoy them and I want there to be more, but like if it had stopped 2 movies ago, 3 movies ago, I would have been like, no, man, what happens to so-and-so? And what happens to so-and-so? I want this to be rounded out. And they did such a good job that now I'm like,
well, Falcon and Bucky were supposed to have their own series on Disney Plus, right? Yeah. So this could be a launch pad for that.
No, they set up tons of launch pads. That's not my point. My point is like...
Well, maybe they are. Maybe they're like, yo, we're phase 4 that people are talking about. Maybe it's...
My point is that like they set up a bunch of potential stuff, which is good, but like if I were to miss that,
it's like
but I wouldn't miss a Iron Man movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a different thing. But it's much like the Star Wars thing where like these movies were made for this group of people at this time. The new ones are not necessarily for them because as the audience shifts and moves, the content has to move as well. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. But it's just kind of interesting to look at something that's relatively young, 10 years.
Yeah.
And say like they really like closed a book on a good portion of that, you know.
Yeah.
And they're opening new books. I don't know that I'm as interested in those new books. We'll find out, I guess.
I think maybe they could purposely give it some time. They let this stuff breathe for a little while. I know it's Disney, but
have they announced anything specific? I mean, there's talks about a lot of like movie.
Scarlet Witch getting a TV show.
Yeah, set in the 50s. I don't get it.
The 50s?
Yep.
Okay.
Scarlet Witch and Vision.
Black Widow is supposed to be getting her own prequel movie.
Yep.
Spider-Man 2 and 3, from what I understand. I think there's supposed to be a third one. Not sure. There's Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So we know that these things exist, some after the fact, some before. So I don't know. Those could be launching pads for other things, or they could just round out the whole series, or you could meet the new bad guy in the universe.
Well, and that's another problem. I mean, anytime you run a story like this where you have this mega bad guy, like how much more bad can you get?
The mega badder guy, yeah.
You know?
Because, I mean, this theory, it's, I want to take over the world. Or, so Thanos was more than like take over the world, because Ultron kind of wanted to take over the world, save us from ourselves kind of theory.
Yeah.
Or, separate them from within theory. And then Thanos was like, well, I'll just get rid of half of everybody because in this weird, misguided logic, it kind of makes sense. And so their decisions to make bad guys has been pretty good. It hasn't been just like, I'm evil for evil's sake. I need to rob the bank to fund my evilness. And so they would have to creatively find some other super being that has some weird logical reasoning to like, oh, you guys are insignificant. I'm just going to destroy you.
I mean, I guess that's Galactus.
Possibly, yeah.
Probably. I mean, I think he's the. My limited knowledge of the comics, I think he's the
biggest,
big.
the biggest baddie.
Yeah, but I could be wrong with that.
Because you can't really like turn them against each other because you did that already. And that would be like the biggest bad is within our
actually,
our own hearts.
within our hearts. Actually, there was a Civil War II comic line. And I'm not sure who all was involved in that. I know Spider-Man was more involved in the original one, I think. And then maybe Captain Marvel was kind of one of the big parts of the second one. I don't know the specifics, but there was a whole nother like separation storyline that was there. So I guess they could use something like that.
You know one thing from the comics I really want to see?
What's that?
The Punisher getting hold of War Machine's suit.
Whoa. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there was a whole line of Punisher War Machine.
Really?
To where S.H.I.E.L.D. like contracts the Punisher to go to this country that they kind of made up and like get rid of this evil dictator. And so he just kind of takes it and runs amok with it to like destroy almost everybody.
Yeah.
And so they're like, hey, bring the suit back. And he's like, yeah, when I'm done. They're like, no, you're done. Come back right now. And he's like, I'm not done. And then all of the like Captain Marvel and Spider-Man, all of the guys try to go after him to go get the suit back. Wow. And I almost want to like, if there's any like statue or figure or whatever, like I have a Daredevil one, like I want to get a War Machine just to paint it up because he puts the skull like on the War Machine.
Yeah.
It's super dope.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I bet that's been done in cosplay, but if not, that would be an awesome
But it's amazing too because you see a lot of the like Jarvis kind of shots where you see his face with like the little heads up display kind of things, and it's like you should stop, you should retreat because you're gonna do. He's like, nope, not doing that. That reckless, like non-care.
Yeah,
it goes straight through even when you have like a super mega suit, and it just seems to kind of get through. It's really cool.
That is cool. I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Did you watch the Agent Carter show?
No.
So there was this show about Peggy, and I think it was 2 or 3 seasons. I don't remember.
Blonde-haired lady?
No. Captain America's wife.
Oh, I gotcha.
And it was all about her in the 50s, I guess. So it was like her and Howard Stark and Jarvis, the driver.
Right.
And so the driver, Jarvis, in the movie, in Endgame, remember he was getting in his car and that was Jarvis? That was the same guy that played Jarvis in the 50s in this TV show. And so the show was really mostly about, like, Howard Stark came into it a couple of times and would, like, help out with missions here and there, but it was mostly like, Peggy, and if you need anything, Jarvis will drive you around and he'll be your whatever. And so it was a lot of, like, the adventures of Peggy and Jarvis.
Oh,
and he was a really cool kind of, like, butler. He was very Alfred-like, you know. But it was kind of cool just to... He was just one of the many background characters that just popped up. And I was like, oh, hey, look, it's Jarvis from the show that they canceled. That was really good.
Looking outside of the cinematic universe.
Yeah. Which is actually kind of funny because they've had... S.H.I.E.L.D. has been its own TV show that has reacted to the movies but has not affected the movies.
Right. From what I haven't seen any, but I've heard people talking about it where it fills in some background stuff in really poignant parts of the MCU. Yeah. It just gives you additional stuff that's happening not on camera.
And it doesn't really...
storylines.
Yeah, it's like it is affected by but doesn't affect the movies. And, I mean, Agent Carter was kind of the same way, but... she was a character that had been on screen. I mean, I guess Phil Coulson was too, but it's just interesting because then all the other Marvel shows theoretically exist in the same universe and reference the movies like the Attack on New York and all that stuff, but they are never discussed in any way in the movies, which is kind of weird. But
so do you think that Marvel, in whatever is next, is going to like do that sleight of hand, like the Loki's dead, but he's not really dead? Or do you think that they're going to be planted in this and then just kind of continue? Because at the end of Infinity War, like, I was impacted. But then the weird, like, I'm going to remove myself from just enjoying a movie going, they're not going to keep them all dead. They're all going to come back. So do you have any glimpse of that in what is forward?
I think that it would really cheapen some of the deaths if they came back. I think that's one reason why they're doing the Black Widow prequel, but she probably is dead from now on. I think Tony, like, Robert Downey Jr. could show back up as like an AI version of
Because
Tony.
it did set that precedent where he was delivering his own will as a hologram.
So that's entirely possible that he could show up but it's very different from.
And it seemed like in that will, it was recorded in haste. Like, I'm about to go do this thing where I know I might not be able to come back, so I need to talk to you guys. I doubt that in that same context, he would have like, okay, this is how to shave, or this is how to do this, or, oh, you having trouble fitting the thigh? Hit the little switch in the back. Like, there's only so many lessons or your last words to people, like, that it's going to be in a bubble. You're not going to be able to go back and, like, be a sage Jedi ghost in that small amount of time, I think, unless they, I mean, it's a trick in a movie, like, oh, he was all the while keeping an active archive in Jarvis in a database, so you can just watch all the feeds.
Well, I mean, if you think about how Jarvis worked, it was always like an independent thinking and would give Tony advice and and all that type of stuff. So I think creating that same thing around somehow grabbing Tony's brain at some point in time before he died could totally happen.
But again, would that cheapen it?
Yeah, it might to a degree, but at the same time, it's not Tony, right? He's not necessarily. I guess he could command a suit. Come to think of it,
Sentry mode.
Yeah, but so like in one of them, where he had his, I guess that was Civil War, his barf protocol, like where it has the projected scene where he was young and he was talking to his parents before they died and all that. He called it barf. That whole thing could be used as a way to physically manifest a physical looking AI in a space. So maybe in Avengers
But is that something
Tower,
that you as a friend would, or not as a friend, but as a fan would want to see? Or again, does that cheapen it?
I think it would kind of cheapen it, but...
Because I think, I asked that because I think Black Widow, when I was going into this movie, I'm thinking Captain America is going to sacrifice himself because he's already set a precedent for that in the plane going down on the ice. He's Captain America. He's got to do good. He's this thing. And it was Black Widow who, like, sacrificed herself, saved someone else, and then sacrificed herself. And I thought that was awesome because I was like, oh, I not that I discounted her, is I thought that someone else had more of that in them. And I was like, all right, right on.
It did a good job of completing her arc. And I saw an article the other day, a little story from one of the writers that was saying originally it was supposed to be Hawkeye. And that they'd written it that way. And they were in a production meeting and they were going through that scene. And one of the women who was, I don't remember what her position was, but she was like an effects supervisor or something like that. They were reading through the scene and they said that Hawkeye jumped off the thing. And she spoke up and said, don't take that away from her. And that they changed the movie in that moment because everybody realized, like, this is the one chance that she had to actually
fully redeem herself
and like pay for not pay for it, but like give herself up for the family that she never had. Now she had it. It was like, and to take that away for her would have really cheapened.
And I think because Clint has his family that they are fighting to go back for, and so for him to sacrifice himself for his family would have been strange.
It's like kind of counterproductive.
Exactly. But, like, I'm going to sacrifice myself so my family can come back, but then they're not going to have you.
Yeah.
And
which was her point.
Right. Which was completely valid. And what did you think about the... I talked to your wife about it. What do you think about the girl power scene when all the ladies banded together and made the spearhead through the battle scene?
You know, in principle and in, like, representation, yeah, I get it. It was super cheesy.
I thought it was pretty cool in its cheesiness. Like,
yeah.
I thought it was good. And I liked it when they did it in Infinity War on a much smaller scale. When Scarlet Witch and Black Widow.
Oh, yeah.
And
see that
I don't remember her name. The bald lady with the spear.
I can't remember.
T'Challa's, like, general, where she was just like, she charged into things with a spear when everyone else has, like, lightning hands and super special abilities. Like, that is amazing.
I like that one better because it was just like we're not going to pause, pan the camera, and everybody pose. It was just like they were in a battle, and then all of a sudden they were back to back, and they were all doing awesome. Instead of just like, all right, everybody pose, here comes the battle.
It made me think,
it was just kind of
like,
silly.
What if, like, out of, say, there were 10, all 9 of them were there, and they were like, where's the girl with the antenna? She should be here for this. Like,
hey, hold on, guys.
Yo, come here real quick. We're doing a thing.
Yeah.
But I thought it was good. And I was like, Deacon, look at all the ladies. I was like, the ladies are charging through everybody. And he was like, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of it. I just thought it was maybe executed.
It was on the nose.
Yeah, very on the nose. But all right, what else we got about it? How far are we?
I have no idea.
We're over an hour.
Okay.
So
I think that's about good.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. It hit me in ways I didn't think it was because, again, I was projecting myself onto many, many characters they had. So as a project management, I love what they did, and I commend everybody on that team for taking the most, like, at the time, these A-list celebrities, keeping them through 22 movies and rounding out all of their stories in the way that they did. Great job.
Yeah, it was technically very impressive. I mean, visually also, but just, yeah, it is really impressive.
Yeah, because at a certain point, Robert Downey Jr. would be like, I want $190 million to do these one scenes in this movie.
But at the same time, they probably would have been like, sure, no problem.
True. But
we're going to make $1.2 billion on the opening weekend.
That is bonkers. They paid for, I think we talked about it, they paid for over a quarter of the entire Star Wars franchise in the opening weekend of a movie that had nothing to do with Star Wars.
That's insane. How much did they pay for Marvel?
I don't know.
Nothing close to $1 billion.
Oh, nothing close. I don't remember when they acquired Marvel.
It was a few years before. Well, I guess it would have been 2007, 2006, something like that. I don't know. It'd be worth looking up because nothing close to $1 billion.
Way to go.
All right. One more question. I'm sure you'll watch it again in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
After that, how long do you think before you watch it again?
I don't know. I mean, when it comes out on DVD, and I want to see the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Oh.
Which has not really been that substantial. Like, I got a Blu-ray player in hopes that it would have more content, more behind-the-scenes content. Like, I'm talking Lord of the Rings style, because they have a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah.
And no one has met that yet.
Nobody
and it's
can
made
do
me
Lord
kind
of
of
the Rings.
sad.
They did an insane amount of...
Well, and I think with this,
capture.
it's just a bunch of people in a field in Georgia with a green screen behind them, so there's not a whole lot of depth to it. Yeah. But I think that storytelling, like, that is the piece that gets me. Like, if you can't give me that content visually or, like, technically, people making swords or making armor or whatever, then go back to the interesting stuff about, tell me how you kept these people. Tell me about the story. Like, who that moment that you talked about the lady going, don't take that away from her. Like, tell me those stories, because those are cool.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I kind of didn't want to see it a second time after seeing it the first time.
You just want to let it lie?
I kind of did, and it was like I felt a little bit of loss, and I didn't really want to go through that again.
Oh, so it's not that you didn't want to learn more to dissuade your feelings from before. You just didn't want to go through that whole process again. Oh.
And I think it was more emotional for me the second time I watched it because I kind of knew it was coming and I could see it. It's like if you know what's going to happen and it's bad, you have to dread it a little bit. And 3 hours is a long time to dread it.
Well, my wife hasn't seen it, so we're going to go see it sometime.
That's cool.
And I'm wondering if she's going to get choked up in the same moments and for the same reasons, or if she does get choked up, like what her perspective was, just to see how much the movie came through as they intended, or how much I was projecting my own past or emotions or whatever.
Right. Well, I'm sure it's a combination of those.
Right.
Too, for sure. Cool. All right. Well,
that was fun.
I actually am leaving in a couple of days, and so we
you're-
probably won't record again for a fair bit.
Maybe Anthony and I will do something.
Ooh.
I don't know.
He's not even paying attention.
He's not. He's quarantined in there. I think he's doing good.
Cool. Where can people find you?
On Instagram at the PI Workshop and on Twitter at Josh Makes Stuff.
And you can find me and us at I Like to Make Stuff on all the stuff. And if you're in Italy, look for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll be in Italy.
We should plug Maker Faire.
Oh, yeah. Maker Faire. The
Bay Area Maker Faire.
19th? Is it that weekend? It's that weekend-ish. Around the 19th of
19th.
May in San Mateo, California. Where all four of us are going to be there. We're doing like multiple talks on different stages with different groups of podcasts and the team and all this different stuff. Go
Saturday
to Maker Faire.
and Sunday.
Yes.
So if you can only make one of those days, you'll get some I Like to Make Stuff in some fashion on either one of them.
True.
I'm
Word.
excited.
Yeah, good. Me too.
If you listen to the podcast and you like what we're doing here, tell us so when you see us there, because it's really encouraging, and then we can know if we're doing this right.
Yeah.
If you have spare Lego sets around your house that you were going to throw in the trash and you want to bring to us, I'll bring an extra suitcase.
Yeah, that would be cool too. All right, cool. We will see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Anthony, we're done.
All clear.